You're listening to The Stack, your source for Oracle news and comment. Here we don't just provide the news, we do our best to explain how it affects you and your enterprise. I'm your host, Monty Latulay. I'm so glad you're here. Let's delve into the happenings of June 2026. If you're an Oracle shareholder, it's likely you were glued to the news on June 10th. That's when Oracle released FY26 numbers. Think of it like this. Imagine you stumble onto a massive untapped gold mine and you have buyers lined up around the block, contracts already signed to buy your gold, guaranteeing you billions and billions of dollars. But to actually dig that gold out, you have to take out the biggest, scariest loan of your life, which is exactly where Oracle is sitting right now. The scale of their Q4 is hard to wrap your head around. If you just look at the top line number, they took in 19.2 billion in revenue. But the real story and the absolute crazy part is their backlog continues to grow. Something we mentioned before, and that's remaining performance obligations, or RPO, is now up to $638 billion. And a huge chunk of that, about 75 billion, is just customers paying up front to secure AI computing power. They're literally handing Oracle cash just to reserve their space in line. But despite having all those guaranteed buyers, Oracle lost roughly 20% from June 19th through June 30th because Wall Street looked at the cost of those shovels and excavators and basically panicked. They saw a huge price tag. To actually deliver on those contracts, Oracle's capital expenditures skyrocketed to $56 billion for the fiscal year. To put it in terms we can all understand, Oracle is maxing out their credit cards to $24 billion. And that kind of makes me feel better about my own finances. Anyhow, they now have to raise $40 billion in financing just to keep building out these data centers. So the bottom line, June 2026 was one of the most volatile months in Oracle history. The stock initially rallied on blockbuster AI and OCI-driven earnings, and then suffered a severe late-month correction as investors began worrying about the massive cost of these infrastructure build-outs. The net result was a major decline going into July, despite strong numbers. But the news is not entirely bad by any means. Back in April, Microsoft's exclusivity deal with OpenAI ended, and Oracle immediately swooped in. So now, Oracle customers like you can just use your existing universal credits to access OpenAI's frontier models, directly including Codex, which helps your developers write code, all running securely inside your OCI. And that's really, really smart. So what I mean is, for a hospital or a major bank, setting up a new vendor for AI involves security audits and months of red tape. You know that. But now you can completely bypass all that because you're buying AI off of a pre-approved budget within a secure cloud you already trust. It's like bypassing the bouncer at a club because you already have your VIP table inside. The friction just goes to zero. But giving enterprises access to AI models is only half the strategy. They're also taking these models and embedding them directly into physical operations, moving from an AI that just answers questions to an AI that takes action. And they've launched 4 new Fusion agentic applications just for supply chain. One of them automates Kanban administration, so essentially letting the AI manage real-time flow of inventory on the factory floor. It uses what's called human-in-the-loop routing. The AI might analyze a shortage and draft the purchase order for raw materials on its own, but it triggers a desktop alert for the human manager to click approve before any money is actually spent. So that might make it a lot less terrifying for a warehouse, but the stakes get even higher when you look at something like defense initiatives. The Oracle Defense ecosystem just added 10 new partners to deploy this kind of AI out at the tactical edge. One example is Marlin Intelligence. Crazy stuff. They build biometric underwater robotics. Essentially, autonomous submarines designed to mimic the movement of real sea life. Crazy stuff. Look it up. Oracle wants to be the underlying nervous system for everything from tracking inventory in a warehouse to processing data for robotic submarines out in the ocean. They're betting their entire financial house on it. When you look at this whole picture, they're absorbing terrifying upfront costs to build this ultimate AI infrastructure. They believe they have the ultimate pipeline to deploy it all. So not only do they have the gold mine, they own the only road leading to it. In today's fast moving business environment, you need more than reports. You need insight. You need agility. You need results. That's where Danyati comes in. As your trusted consulting partner, Danyati helps organizations like yours modernize planning, forecasting, consolidation, reporting, and cloud operations with proven expertise in Oracle, OneStream, SAP, AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. Whether you're replacing spreadsheets, streamlining financial processes, migrating to the cloud, or unlocking the full power of enterprise performance management, Danyati delivers practical solutions that drive measurable business value. With experienced consultants, proven methodologies, and a commitment to client success, Danyati helps transform complexity into clarity and technology into competitive advantage. Ready to move your business forward? Visit Danyati.com and discover how the right partner can make all the difference. Danyati, expertise, innovation, results. We're back. This month's Critical Security Patch Update, or CSPU, was not to be ignored. Let's break down the numbers because they're not great. 243 vulnerabilities, and 50% of them, 122, were critical. And we saw that one CVSS, a 10 out of 10 in Oracle Coherence, involved unauthenticated remote takeover. An attacker could just waltz right in without even needing a password. There was another 9.8 severity in people tools, so that's not good. But it perfectly explains why Oracle made that fundamental shift to monthly away from these quarterly updates. When you have a severity 10 hanging out there, you have to make these priority fixes faster. It minimizes the system disruption while shrinks your exposure window. So let's move on now to a changing of the guard. Recently, two longtime Oracle heavyweights announced their retirement. Steve Miranda, who built Fusion Apps, and Cliff Godwin, longtime head of EBS, both announced their retirements. Taking over for Cliff Godwin will be Lisa Parekh, a 33-year veteran of Oracle. And what can we expect from the change? Well, if I were talking to a CIO or IT director today, my message would be don't panic. The roadmap is not suddenly going to change because Cliff retired. Oracle wouldn't jeopardize billions of maintenance revenue or thousands of strategic customers or anything like that. But I would expect evolution. I would not expect an emphasis for on-prem. I think they're going to want to push people to OCI and to promote AI services. The most likely outcome is that EBS remains fully supported. Oracle continues annual releases and AI capabilities become embedded through OCI services. Most customers are already adopting a hybrid model. They're using EBS for core ERP and they're using Fusion for selected capabilities like supply chain or HCM or EPM. So EBS is increasingly positioned as a modernized platform rather than a platform that's just awaiting replacement. Stepping into Steve Miranda's big shoes is a 21-year veteran of the force, Chris Leone. And I think the signal here is that we are officially done building out the platform, and now it's just a race to monetize. If there was a single message from Ascend 2026, it was modernize your data, simplify your architecture, and prepare for AI. Oracle customers are not looking for wholesale replacement projects. They're looking for practical modernization that delivers AI, automation, and better UX while protecting their existing investments. My personal observations around Ascend was AI dominated the conference. EBS, still very much alive. OCI, everywhere. Apex, continuing to gain momentum, continuing to be very, very strategic. And modernization replacing migration. Companies are more interested in evolving what they have, and there's really no appetite to start over. Now, 72 hours later, I found myself in Denver, Colorado at the Kscope conference, where you would imagine Apex was in full display. The core message was that trust, not speed, is the differentiator. And today, anyone can generate an application faster. Code, thousands of lines of code can get generated in the blink of an eye. But it's the organization that can generate apps that are secure, supportable, and compliant that will be in business 3 years from now. A couple of other observations. Oracle Forms modernization finally feels achievable, obviously, as a result of Apex Lang. EPM and Apex conversations are starting to converge. And while those have been traditionally separate communities, there is a growing interest in how Apex can complement EPM, SBase, and planning applications through these workflow extensions, data collection, and operational applications. And what it means is significant opportunities exist to bring these two communities together. Perhaps the most important SBase announcement of 2026 happened at Kscope, and that was the SBase MCP server. Oracle officially introduced the SBase MCP server. It exposes SBase operations as AI callable tools, allowing MCP compatible assistants such as Claude, GitHub, Copilot, and other AI agents to interact directly with SBase through natural language. And some of the examples that were discussed that AI agents could now be able to accomplish would be like browsing dimensions and members, execute calculation scripts, query cube data, manage security objects, generate reports and analytical outputs, all through conversational prompts. Very cool stuff. I should mention also registration actually just opened for Oracle AI World in Las Vegas. So you folks listening may want to jump on that. Okay, so as promised, we covered the FY26 financials and the roller coaster there that was June 2026. We recapped both Ascend and Kscope, and at both conferences, many of you found me and told me how much you enjoyed the podcast. So I really enjoyed those conversations. It really made my day. So thank you for that. Anyway, if you found this informative or entertaining or somewhere in the middle, join us again next month. Until then, keep learning, keep exploring, stay engaged with your user groups, and we'll catch you next time on The Stack.